plan a time and a date for your recording. Do all the testing first so that you know how you're going to set it up and you don't have to worry about that. And then just have it all ready to go at the time and date that you're going to do it, and then just go for it. But I would do all of these tests maybe on a different day from the actual performance, or a little bit earlier in the day from the performance. So it's all set up and ready, but that your performance energy doesn't get taken away by all the tech setup. I think that's really important. Test out what it's like when you're playing as quietly as possible. Test out what it sounds like when you're playing as loud as possible. If you're in obviously a situation where you can edit, if you play something and it's too loud and it distorts, there's very little you can do to fix that. So you've always got to give yourself a little bit of headroom in terms of the audio levels to make sure that you're not going too loud. But you don't want it turned down so low that nobody can hear you in the quiet bits. So it's about getting that balance right. And then, do some tests in terms of how you appear to the camera. Look at it, treat it as if it's a person, and just sort of, monitor it a little bit, look back at it, record a tiny section and look back. As a general thing, I would do microphone kind of around 1 meter away, try and get the camera so that you can get as much of your in shot as possible, so it's not too much of a close-up that it makes you feel really uncomfortable. We want to, for competitions and things, it's really nice to be able to see your hands, see how that's going. In terms of the mic positioning with the flute, I tend to it depends how many microphones I'm using, but if I'm doing one, I tend to think of it as a sort of triangle from the ends of the flute, so that it's a kind of point that way, and that the microphone is a little bit higher than the centre of the flute. If you put it too much in front of your mouth, obviously you're going to get air sounds going straight into the microphone, especially if it's close, so I tend to put it slightly to one side. And if I'm using a stereo pair of microphones, I tend to, as a rough rule, I'll point one microphone at each hand. If you need it and you don't like thinking about it as being a camera, imagine, use your imagination and sort of imagine there's somebody there, or even have people there. Why not? If not, one of my little tips that I often like to do, actually this comes from Robert Dick, one of his suggestions, is to play to a houseplant. It's a living thing. It's a living thing in your room that will respond to you. And don't do too many takes. Listen back to your entire video once you've done it before you submit it. I've had entries for competitions, not the BFS one, but other competitions, where the playing is probably great, but I couldn't hear it because it was distorted. It's not enough to make your recording and do that and then just send it off thinking, oh yeah, it sounded great in the room. You've got to listen back to it and check that everything's okay before you submit it.